Year 3 Maths, Lesson 11. Objective is to compare fractions. Pause the video here while you have a go at the warm-up questions. So let's look at the answers. For question number 1, 3/12 was equivalent to 1/4. For question number 2, 3/4 of 12 is 9 and 5/8 of 16 is 10. Therefore 3/4 of 12 is less than 5/8 of 16. We write 7/10 as 0.7 and 48 divided by 8 equals 6. So in today's lesson we are comparing fractions, and here we have 5/7 and 2/7. We're going to compare these fractions using two bar models. So when we have shaded in 5 of the 7 parts in the first bar model and 2 of the 7 parts in the second bar model, we can begin to compare. We can see that 5/7 is greater than 2/7. At the top, we are using the symbol for greater than. If we are reading it, it would read 5/7 is greater in words than 2/7. So now pause the video while you have a go at these sets of fractions. Remember, bar models may help you to compare. Be careful with the last one. 4/5 could be tricky. So let's check your answers. 4/9 is less than 8/9. 5/10 was less than 4/10, and 2/4 was less than 5/4. Did you remember to shade in all of the parts of one of the bar models and another quarter from the second bar model for 5/4? Great work. So let's take a closer look. What's the same and what's different? What do you notice? Look at the denominator. Look at the numerator. When the denominator is the same, the blank the numerator, the blank the fraction. What words could fit in the blank spaces? Did you manage to fill in the blanks? There were two different ways that you could say the blanks. When the denominator is the same, the greater the numerator, the greater the fraction. When the denominator is the same, the smaller the numerator, the smaller the fraction. So really, when the denominator is the same, to compare, we are only really looking at the numerator. So let's have a go now at questions 1 and 2. Pause the video on the next two slides. So let's have a look at the answers to question number 1. We can see that 5/8 is greater than 3/8. For B, we can see that 5/8 is less than 7/8. And for C, we can see that 5/10 is less than 7/10. For question 2, we could use our new facts that we only have to look at the numerator when the denominator is the same. Check your answers and see if you were correct. So let's have a look at this question. We're comparing 1/7 and 1/5. Oh, what do you notice about this question? Yes, the denominators are not the same. What shall we use to help us to compare? I know. Let's do some bar models. So we can see from the bar models that they are exactly the same. However, they are cut into different parts. The top one is cut into 7 equal parts, and the bottom is cut into 5 equal parts. We have coloured in one of the parts from each bar model, and we can clearly see that 1/7 is less than 1/5. We can also say this as 1/7 is smaller than 1/5. So we've already compared 1/7 being less than 5/7. Can you have a go at the other two fractions and compare them? Don't forget to use bar models to help you. Pause the video and have a go. So let's have a look at these fractions. We can see that 1/2 is greater than 1/3 and that 1/4 is less than 1/9. What do you notice about these fractions that we have compared? The numerators are all 1. What do we call these fractions? Yes, that's right, we call them unit fractions. What do you notice about these two sets of fractions? The denominators are different, but the numerators are the same. But they're not 1. These are non-unit fractions. Pause the video while you have a go at comparing these fractions. Remember to use bar models. Let's look at the answers. We can clearly see that 4/9 is less than 4/5 and 2/3 is greater than 2/8. But what is the same and what's different? What do you notice? Last time the denominators were the same, but this time they are different. Now it's the numerators that are the same. Can you fill in the blanks to the sentence below? Which words did you use to fill in the blanks? Or did you find both? When the numerators are the same, the greater the denominator, the smaller the fraction. When the numerators are the same, the smaller the denominator, the greater the fraction. Now, using all the things that we have learnt, have a go at questions 3, 4 and 5. Pause the video while you have a go and then we'll check the answers. So let's have a look at the answers to question number 3. For part A, we had to shade in the bar models to represent the fractions. 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, 1/5. For part B, we had to compare. So let's look at the answers to question number 4. Part A. As long as your numerator is larger than 1, your answer will be correct. For part B, as long as your denominator is less than 5, your answer is correct. For question 5, Jack is comparing the fractions. We have drawn 2 bar models to show 1/8 and 1/4. Remember, the bar models have to be the same size but cut differently. We can clearly see that 1/8 is smaller than 1/4, so Jack is wrong. So let's continue with comparing fractions. Take a look at these two fractions, 2/3 and 3/5. What do you notice here? Well, the numerator and the denominators are different. How can we work it out? Well, let's start by drawing our bar models. First bar model is cut into 3 and the second is cut into 5. So here we have 2/3 shaded in and 3/5 shaded in, and we can clearly see that 2/3 is greater than 3/5. We've used the symbol and we've used the word. Here we have Dexter saying that he knows that 4/7 is greater than 5/11 without having to draw a bar model. How can Dexter do this? Well, first of all, let's draw the bar model just to check that he is correct. So we can see here from the bar models that 4/7 is greater than 5/11. But how did Dexter do it without drawing a bar model? So what Dexter said that he does is he compares the fractions to 1/2. He said that 4/7 was greater than 1/2, and he's right. 3/7 would be less. He also said that 5/11 was less than 1/2, and he's correct because 6/11 would be greater. So he always compares the fractions to 1/2. So now complete the last 2 questions. Remember, you can always go back to certain slides if you need some help with some of the questions. Pause the video here while you work out the answers to question 6. Remember bar modelling, remember to compare to a half. Can you remember earlier in the lesson? Fill in the blanks to these sentences. Check your answers and make sure that you do your corrections. Did you remember which words went in the blanks? Well done. That's great work today, Year 3. Remember, keep emailing me your work and I will be giving you dojos. Stay at home and stay alert. Take care.